When I put my first dollar into putting a deposit for the inventory, I probably don't see that dollar returning back to me for about 7 to 9 months later. It did phenomenal and we sold out in 2 months to the distributor. You're just another brand, another product, and you have to show them why your product is good and how it's going to help them make money. I don't know if I would have been able to start Nam Fruits if it wasn't for AI.
David, thanks a lot for coming on the Shelf to Scale podcast, man. It's great to have you here.
Devesh, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it, man.
Definitely. Just give us a quick overview of what Nam Foods is to set the context for anyone listening.
Yeah, for sure. So Nam Fruits, we are a Montreal-based company. Nam Fruits itself is we import tropical Vietnamese fruit snacks from Vietnam. So we have dried mangoes made from specialty KO mangoes. And then we also have banana chips and jackfruit chips, which are just only two ingredients, just the fruit and coconut oil. So right now we are just working on these three SKUs to start off. And again, the idea is really to kind of bring in the best and most delicious fruit snacks from Vietnam into Canada, packaging it in nice North American packaging and offering it to the Canadian market. So that's kind of where we're starting off with first, getting people to try the products. Once it's been tried, tested, and true, the idea is to bring on different products and different snacks from Vietnam as well.
And David, I wanna give you your laurels and wanna give a shout out. I remember I met you guys at I think it was an expo in Toronto. It
It
was
was
the
the
Eat
Eat
Well.
Well, Live Well trade show, I think it
Correct,
was.
correct. And I still remember, I clearly remember this. I think you gave us a sample to try. There was me and there was a guy next to me that was standing as well. And we both tried at the same time. And like we tried it and like our eyes lit up. We both looked at each other and we're like, wow, this is really good. At the same time, we both said it to each other. And that's just giving you your kudos for like you've created
Appreciate it.
a very, very good product from that perspective. So if anyone's listening to this, please go try it out if you're in Canada. But David, you launched in May 2025, if I'm not mistaken. Now, by end of this month, you're going to be in 250 plus stores. Can we just kind of walk through what those first 90 days in May look like? Plus, even the 6 months prior to that, like what was kind of that ideation process and then leading up to the actual launch, basically.
So let's say the 6 months before that, I mean, really, even before the 6 months, I was in Vietnam for about 2 years on and off, really, half vacationing, half trying to figure out if there's any opportunities there, and then trying to do some research, right? So from there, we figured out let's go with these dried fruit snacks, and then from there we kind of decided, you know what, this maybe is gonna work because for me, I visited probably about a dozen different suppliers in Vietnam. So after trying a dozen suppliers, I found, you know what, this is really the best thing I've ever had when I finally tried it. So right away, I told him, listen, this is the product I want. Let's package it. Let's bring it to Canada because my whole life I've been eating dried mangoes and all this stuff. I've never had one this good before. So I'm like, if I like it, everybody else back home has to like it. So again, there's a lot of figuring out the minimum order quantities from the supplier, packaging, design, figuring out freight, figuring out how to import it without getting in trouble and learning about compliance. There's a lot of learning curve for everything, to be honest. And then from the time when it got in or was getting into Canada, pretty much we had about 2 months time to figure some stuff out, right? So from Vietnam shipping to Montreal takes about 2 months time. During those 2 months, it really let's create catalogs and sales sheets and start talking to stores and seeing who we can speak to and how to go to there, figuring out trade shows that we can go to. And that's kind of how, those months went with the getting the product and idea and plan, figuring out what and where we want to go and how to sell it from there was kind of the rough idea of the first few months there.
And did you speak with any like maybe stores, people in the industry, like when you were looking, like you hadn't placed your first like PO yet with the
Yeah,
supplier?
you know what it was? Yes and no. It was almost a little bit crazy in the sense that I kind of just went in head first without doing, I would say just without doing enough research. But it was one of those I've always wanted to be in the food industry. And I guess my mindset was simple enough in the sense of, listen, there's enough people out there that if you have good, delicious product, hopefully that itself translates into sales and having a successful company, right? So my main thing was really look for an amazing product first. Once you have an amazing product, work on it, build on it, and see how we can get more customers from there. And again, to me, it's just one of those things. Food is food. I'm not reinventing the wheel with dried mangoes, banana chips, and all that stuff. I'm really just coming to the table and say, hey, listen, I have a much better product than what you guys are already using or selling or eating, and I'm not reinventing the wheel. So I felt pretty decent in that sense of like, if there are other people or other companies doing it already, why can't I do it? Especially if I have a better product.
And also, I'm guessing you'd gone to stores in Canada and you'd kind of seen what the options are for
Yeah, exactly.
dried.
That's what, so I would go into stores, try it out. I mean, I again, growing up, I've eaten dried mangoes my whole life, so I kind of know who my competitors are without really fully doing research in that sense, right? But in terms of going to the stores and talking to people, I don't know if I really went too much research into that. My concern was more of finding the product and bring it here. One of those build it and they will come, I guess, kind of mindset. So I built a product, a brand, and then from there, that's when I slowly started going to stores and hoping from one store to the next store to the trade show to a distributor. That's how I would kind of grow it. And that's pretty much kind of how it played out exactly as I was hoping it would play out.
Amazing. And we want to go to like the part where you were trying to choose the manufacturer piece because I mean I speak with a lot of people that want to start a brand, they want to import something in. You know, I guess how did you actually find vet a supplier in Vietnam? What would your advice kind of be for a founder
Yeah.
that wants to maybe try to import from different countries?
So for our case, pretty much we just went online and tried to look for as many suppliers as possible. We would go to markets, even just talk to people in that sense, do some research. And at the end of the day, really, it's you do as much research and talking as you can by email and video calls and all that. But really, eventually, when you kind of vetted which ones are worth your time, then we go to the factory, visit it, see how they work, see how their team is, see how clean and how nice and everything is, see who they're working with. And really, I think some of the other more important thing is making sure that they have a lot of the certification and documentation that you require if you're importing or selling to certain markets, because certain markets do require certain documents if you want to sell there. So really, it's just a lot of research of going in there and talking to them directly and getting a feel. It's a matter between pricing and quality of both. You're not always looking for the cheapest, but you're also looking for the one that is, priced well, but giving you good service and knowing that if there's any problems or anything, it's easy to communicate with them. Communication is very, very important in my opinion with the supplier.
Definitely, definitely. So communication, you're looking at, I'm guessing pricing, probably lead time,
Yeah, it's pretty much it's
MOQs.
all those things. And again, it's just finding a supplier that, for me it was really more of the quality first in terms of product and taste. So it's really yeah, going in and finding the right suppliers. You have to go in there and feel right because again, you have to look at multiple suppliers. Don't just, say yes to the first one. Really just do a lot of research, spend the time. Don't be afraid to take more time to do that.
And then, so once you launched, how was that conversation when like the first couple of stores, when the container was in water, was on the way to Montreal? Like, what was that conversation with the first couple of stores?
But really, the conversation was a little bit difficult because when you don't have the product on hand either, it's almost like air talk, right? So really, during those few months while the container was, coming on the way, is really just keep building up, social media, planning how to do that, building up sales sheet, building out pricing and all that because as much as I wanted to reach out to stores or distributors to talk to them, it just didn't make sense. It didn't have a product to try to sample to actually see if the product was good or not. So really, I was kind of my hands were kind of tied until I had the first products available. So that way, having a conversation, saying how delicious your product is, and having them try it is really the closing sale for me. So as much as I wanted to go to talk to people about the product, I chose not to. I chose to focus on building the background stuff so that the moment the product is available, then I can say, hey, here's all my sales sheet, here's all the information, here's all the stuff, and here's a product for you to try. Let's have a conversation now. So again, for me, I don't know if that's the right or wrong way to do it, but in my experience, because of the product, we find that the product does a lot of the speaking for us, right? So me saying how delicious it is one thing. As you mentioned, once you try it, I don't have to say anything. You've already said a lot of stuff to yourself.
100%, 100%. And yeah, I mean, and think about it. Like this was like a couple of months ago, and I still remember that exact moment when I tried, Nam food. So that shows the emphasis on taste that you've put as a whole. I guess then from there, once the container arrived, did you go into the first couple of stores? Like, kind of maybe walk us through once the
Yeah,
container actually arrived.
Yeah, so from there, pretty much, even with the container arriving, again, we have to figure out where are we bringing this container into? Which warehouse are we going? How are we storing it? Do we go with a 3PL warehouse where they handle everything, or do we do it ourselves first to figure it out? So we started off by renting like a huge locker, a big locker, just big enough for us to put the products in, and we go in there by ourselves whenever we need, as we need. And then in terms of going to stores, I was lucky that one of my friends actually has a grocery store. So he was actually my first customer. He brought it in and he says, hey, you know what? We're actually having like a sidewalk sale like next week or something. If you're interested, come set up a little tent here and sell stuff, sell product on the street, which worked out great. So that was our first ever show, if you want to call it that, where it was just me, myself, my two daughters, and I had someone else come. We set up a little tent. We had products just outside of the store, selling it bit by bit. And then from there, we were fortunate enough that that same friend actually had a contact, which was a distributor. And this distributor pretty much, reached out to us and spoke to us and, hey, we're kind of selling similar products, but not the same. And I think your products would complement mine. So by chance, having that connection and network allowed me to work with a distributor where this distributor himself is not huge by any means. He's a bit on the smaller side, but that was perfect for us in the sense that I think he serves about roughly 100 stores, give or take, in the Montreal area. And to me, it made perfect sense because again, if I was to go with a distributor that has 1,000 stores, 2,000 stores, I don't know if I'm ready or prepared for that. So meeting this distributor, which only has 100 stores, was kind of a perfect timing for me that we're able to get into more stores and test it and figure out how to work with these stores without being overwhelmed or having any running into inventory problem, which we still ran into inventory problems because the products came in, he took it on, it did phenomenal, and like we sold out in 2 months. We weren't expecting it. We sold out. We didn't have any more inventory. It was already on the way, but we were out of stock for like 2 months pretty much. So it's a good problem to have.
Yeah, especially when you're importing that even from like Vietnam, which where the transit time is another thing that you're looking at when you're looking at, let's say, your inventory, you're looking at cash
There's
flow, you're looking at all those things.
there's a lot to look at, right? So I mean, the best way to put that is, when I put my first dollar into putting a deposit for the inventory, I probably don't see that dollar returning back to me for about like 7 to 9 months later is the reality of it, right? As you mentioned, there's roughly like a 2 month transportation time. From that time, it goes into your warehouse. From there, it sits however long until it gets sold. Once it gets sold, it goes into the store. It sits on the shelf for however long. And then when you're selling to that person also, they usually have like a 30, 60, or 90-day payment terms. So just that alone, you're already at, 7, 8 months. So
Percent.
cash flow is definitely a huge thing you have to think about
Yeah.
for any starting business.
Definitely. And then on the distributor piece, because I'm just trying to give that context to, let's say, a new founder when they're going to their first distributor. Let's say it's a small distributor to 100 stores, 200 stores. What are some of the things that they should keep in mind when they're having that conversation, whether to figure out whether this partnership is the right one for me or not?
Yeah, so even talking about distributors, I think we should take a step back behind that. It's pretty much called in terms of pricing, right? So anybody who's interested in a distributor, you have to kind of understand the game or the model. So I think a lot of people come into a game thinking, hey, I bought this for $1 and I'm going to sell it for two, and I'm making a 50% margin, or I'm marking it by 100%. That kind of works if you're just selling X amount of units direct to consumer. But if you're trying to scale it to get into some of the major, chains and everything, you have to really think pricing it, knowing in mind that the distributor needs 30, you need to make some, plus shipping, plus promotion, plus discounts, plus payment fees and discounts and all that stuff. So that's kind of like, one of the big things that people have to know and realize before they go to that distributor route, because again, it's a very different game going distributor versus selling online direct to a consumer, where whatever you're selling, X like 50, 70% go down into your pocket is two different things here, two different worlds. So anyone who is looking for a distributor and working with a distributor, it's great because they help accelerate your growth, right? In the sense that they're already selling to 100 stores. They already have relationships with 100 stores. They know the name of the directors of the stores, and they know how to deal with them. They know how to invoice them already. Versus you trying to go to those stores directly, you're starting from scratch. They don't know who you are. They don't know how to work with you. And for them to work with you, they have to set up your whole product, your whole brand in their system, which can be annoying for them if at the same time they're like, I'm only ordering X amount of dollars from you. I don't want to do all this work for a $200 trial order. But if they're already working with a distributor that they're already purchasing, five, 600, 700, whatever it may be each month from them, for them to say, hey, tack on X amount of this new product onto my next order. I don't mind trying it out. It makes it a lot easier for you to be able to get into the stores, which is again how we were able to get into 250 stores ourselves through distributors and trade shows and everything. But distributors definitely help in that sense.
Definitely. And then another misconception sometimes I've seen also is that a lot of founders will get a distributor, they celebrate, they're like, my job is done here. The distributor's gonna do all the work for me. So I guess how have you seen that? Like how do you support your distributor to
No,
make sure that there's a
yeah,
sell through?
for sure. You know what it is? For some distributors that I've talked to, and again, they've pretty much said, don't look at me as your sales rep, look at me as your warehouse. Like, again, at first I'm like, what do you mean? That's kind of like, rude. Like, aren't you supposed to do more for me? But the reality of it is understanding that they actually carry, hundreds of brands. slash thousands of SKUs. And again, their sales rep going into a store, they have 200 brands to talk about. It's not guaranteed they're going to talk about yours. Again, it's not that they don't like you. It's just that they got so much stuff going on. So at the end of the day, how we look at it is, for me, is let's go into this distributor and I want to know who are your clientele, what's your list of customers. Let me reach out to your customers on your behalf, introduce my product, my brand, pricing, and letting them know, hey, you already order with this distributor, and we're actually a new product and brand with them. And I'd like to introduce you our product and brand. If you're interested, it's very easy. Let your sales rep know that you're interested in trying our brand. Bring it on with your next order. Nothing extra to fill up. You don't have to sign up anything with me. You don't have to deal with me. You continue working with the distributor, and that's pretty much it. So again, we have to do a lot of stuff by, let's say, going to trade shows where this B2B trade shows. So we do meet other grocery stores and other chains which are working with our distributors. We also have to go to direct to consumer trade shows where we met, right? So we're letting the consumers try the product, know what the product is, and create interest and demand in our products once it gets into stores. So again, in terms of social media marketing, there's a lot of that going on as well in terms of reaching out to stores. And even we have to hire our own sales reps. So we have to hire like sales brokers, companies and stuff that pretty much again, already have relationships with some of these big accounts. And once you hire them, they pretty much represent your product and brand. They'll bring it to these stores that they're already working with. And then from there, you hope that they can convince the person that they're working with to do a trial order. And then the broker will send the order to our distributor, which will then fill it for them. So again, there's a lot of work that we have to do, but at the end of the day, we have to understand that it's our brand, our product, our company, and no one knows the product better than we do in that sense. And as much as we want our distributor to help us, they're busy with so much stuff. And if you're waiting for them to help you out, you're going to wait a very long time because again, with the amount of brands they're working with already, how do they know to focus on you? And before you came along, they were already working and selling and filling all these orders. They're already busy and full. So you coming on is again, how I see it, a lot of brands when they go on, they think of, oh yes, our brand is finally in there. It means the world to you, but not to the distributor. To you, you're just another brand, another product, and you have to show them why your product is good and how it's gonna help them make money is really the idea of it. They're making it easier for you to work, but you have to show them that your product can make them money.
100%. That was a very, very, very like that could be a quote for the podcast, but it's like you have to show them how they're going to make money in the end. Because in the end, everyone's running a business, whether it's a distributor, whether it's a retailer, whoever it is in the end, in the entire supply chain. You mentioned trade shows over there, David. I guess from what I understood, you did CHFA pretty early in the start of your
Yeah,
journey
yeah.
with launching.
CHFA I think it's September it was, and we came in around May, June. So it's really
May,
just a
June.
few months ago. So again, I mean, prior to doing this, I mean, the whole planning, as I mentioned before, getting our product in, I already knew I wanted to do trade shows. And again, the reasoning for this is behind this is prior to this, when I was with my last company, Earth Rated, I did so many trade shows. I would have to say I've done probably over 100 trade shows in my lifetime, exhibited at. So for me, I understand what trade shows are, the value in them, again, I enjoy doing them. It's fun, it's exciting. You're having all the right people all under one roof with the intention of looking for products to bring in. So for me, it's trade show is kind of a no-brainer in the sense that though it costs, and I could give you an idea to do a trade show, I'd say it costs anywhere about $6,000 to $10,000. That's like on the lower end. That's like not going fancy at all, right? Between paying for the booth, the travel, setting up, paying like $400 for electricity, paying $300 for this, it adds up quickly. But with trade shows over, my experience, like I'm doing trade shows, I realized that some trade shows you might lose money. Some trade shows, if you're lucky, you'll break even. Some you'll make a little bit, and some rare few ones you'll get very lucky and you might get one of those Costco account or some of the big account where they're going to send you $100,000 order, which pays off that full trade show and other ones as well. So that's why when I say for me, I'm like, hey, I don't mind doing 10 trade shows a year because after 10 trade shows, when you look at everything, usually you're doing better than you are than not going to the trade shows. Again, I've met a lot of big accounts, which I would have never met had I not done this. Right. And not only that, even when you're at trade shows, that allows you to kind of really show what your brand is, your energy, your everything in that sense, so that when a store consumer or distributor walks by, they look at you, they go, does this brand have opportunity to get bigger? Is this something that people want or like? And also just allowing them to try the product, right? And the thing is, again, when you're sending products to somebody's head office, it may or may not get to them because they get so many people reaching out to them. But when you're actually at a trade show, you're face to face with them. That's when you give your 100% best sales pitch. They're trying their products, and that's really how you build that connection, right? They remember again. We remember each other from trying out the product, having the conversation. That little bit really sticks more than sending an email is what it is. So that's why for me, I love trade shows. I love the hecticness, but the amount of energy, the nonstop, and the people you meet there is great. The feedback you get is even better, right? Whether your product is fantastic or terrible, is your packaging good? Is your price too high? What are people's reactions once they try your products? So, I mean, that's why to me, trade show is one of the most important things, or at least I find, if you want to get in the same room with the right people for your business.
Definitely, and because you have so much experience, you've done over 100. Let's say I'm a founder. I know that trade shows are important. I've signed up for my first one, but I also know there's 100 other CPG brands that are around me. What would you advise me on, whether it's the boot design, whether it's the pre-trade show work? What would your kind of advice be to me to make sure that I actually make the best use of, a trade show per
Yeah.
se?
You know what is, I mean, the great thing now is you can actually get a lot of preparation and planning using AI, right? So even if you've never done a trade show before, you hop into AI, you can just say, this is my product, this is my company, this is the trade show I'm going to. My first time doing a trade show, give me a little rundown on what I should prepare, how to plan, what's the best way. And really, you'll get a whole full list of what to do, what not to do. So that's kind of my advice. Because if I tell you you need to do, there's a whole list of it in that sense. But again, really, it's just making sure you have inventory. Having inventory before you go into those trade shows absolutely helps. Having product, if you can sample it, that is even better, right? Again, you can say how amazing your product is or how delicious it is, but as you mentioned, the moment you tasted it and it clicked in your head and you remember it, that forever is going to tell you what the product is. So really, in my opinion, is go to these trade shows, be well prepared, plan for it, make sure you're overstaffed. For me, is I'd rather be overstaffed than understaffed because you're already spending thousands of dollars to be there. What's an extra few $100s to have staffing there to make sure that you look busy, that you're always able to talk to people when they're there, when they're interested, if they have any questions. And again, honestly, it's just something as simple as being able to go to the washroom. Sometimes I see some people who start up and they're just, I'm one person here, I can't even go to the washroom. That's a shitty, that's not fun. So again, even if you don't have the finances, try to find a friend or a family member, whatever it may be. Go come to me a favor, hang out with me at this trade show. I'll give you a little bit of money. I'll treat you for lunch or dinner. Just do me a favor. And that itself is a huge difference in that sense of us having someone there to help you and support you and kind of have your back. Again, it's very tiring doing a trade show.
Yeah, yeah, definitely, definitely. I mean, yeah, like even if it's just two people at a booth, for example, like one person needs to go for something else, one person goes to the washroom, and then you're out, basically. So
For sure.
it's a very fair point. And you mentioned, of course, AI over there. I want to maybe go a bit deeper into that. I guess you've done Earth Rated in the past. That was pre-COVID when we didn't really have Claude and all that. So I guess, how have you seen the landscape of building a CPG brand change with AI? And maybe what are some like practical examples of where you use AI personally
Yeah.
in that?
Yeah, honestly, for me, I would probably say that I don't know if I would have been able to start Nam Fruits if it wasn't for AI. In the sense that, I have a lot of great ideas, great vision, but organizing all these thoughts, laying it out nicely, properly of what to do, how to do it, all the steps, I'm not great at that. So having that pretty much laid out for me, telling me these are the steps that you need to do really helped me stay more focused in that sense. Using AI to help me answer a lot of questions that I wasn't able to answer, helping me able to teach me how to do things I would not be able to do. Some small stuff, example, for let's say before importing products into Canada, you have to register, get a certificate, make sure that you have a lot of compliance, paperwork, documents. I'm terrible at that. But luckily, having AI help me with all of that allowed me to do all of this stuff, which maybe if I had to hire someone else, it would have cost me hundreds, if not thousands of dollars. But I was able to start off my company efficiently and having an assistant, a full-time assistant, if you want to call it that, working 24/7, never talking back, never saying no, never complaining about me saying, I don't like this, change this little bit, revise it this little way. Because we know in reality, real life, when you're working with people, after they've done so much and you tell them, no, change this, change that, it's frustrating for the person. I get it. Versus with AI, I can tell it 100 things to change it 100 times and never feel bad about it. So that does absolutely help. Staying organized is a huge thing. Let's say one of the things that I use with my AI is pretty much it's actually quite integrated into our company to the point of where it has access to a bit of everything from our company, where every morning it sends me a WhatsApp message telling me exactly what we did yesterday, what's on my plate today, what does accounts receivable look like, what does inventory look like, who I need to reach out. And it kind of does that for me. So the idea is having an assistant, if you want to call it that, that every morning goes through all of your stuff, gives you an update, and you know how to start your day. And I do that for myself and also for all my employees as well. So that way, they have a nice little guideline and they remember or get a refresher as to what they were working on yesterday, what they need to follow up on today, and it just makes it easier for them. Simple, small stuff, let's say even accounting. Sometimes, let's say in terms of sales and numbers and all the stuff, you can just download, you can have a whole bunch of numbers and data, which doesn't mean much of anything. But now, when I, for example, let's say my distributor sends me a list of sales, it's just raw data. I'll take that, I'll drop it into my AI and tell it what I kind of want. And in a matter of like a few minutes, it breaks it out very nicely and clearly, showing me who's the number one customers, what are they ordering, who's not ordering what, how frequent they're ordering, when was the last time they ordered, pretty much taking raw data and converting it to something that you can understand, use it, and that kind of helps you make decisions better on what you need to do or not to do, or which accounts to focus on more or less on. So again, learning how to use AI to me is not just necessary, but almost like just need. Anyone who's not using AI right now for it is really has handicapping themselves in a way. Uh, it's just insane what you can do with it, and the framing should be less of what can it do into more of what can it not do, is how I look
Yeah.
at it when I use it. Any problems, any hurdles, any uncertainties I have, I just dump it into there. I even use it as a therapist if you want to, right? This is a problem I'm having right now. How can I solve it? And again, just having something, someone to have that conversation back and forth with you, that does make a big difference.
And you can get most of that done with I'm guessing something like Claude. Like you can set most of that up
Absolutely.
instead of having to use 15
Exactly.
different apps or something. Yeah.
No, honestly, right now, over time, there's been a lot of different ones, and I've tried out a few different ones. For what I'm doing in terms of my business and company right now, Claude is the one that I'm leaning on to the most. I have all my employees use it as well. And again, in terms of working with our suppliers, even I can just write out certain emails, make sure it's very nicely well done, create graphs, create whatever it is, give it to my suppliers so they understand very nicely and cleanly. And the same thing is, we ask our supplier also, hey, can you guys start using AI to work with us also? Because sometimes the information you're sending to us is kind of all scrambled everywhere, and I don't fully understand it. Can you have it on your end cleaned up, look at it and make sense, and then send it to me? So again, the idea is really just trying to make more clearer communication between each other, right?
Definitely, definitely, definitely. No, that's a fair point. It's a fair point. And there's multiple areas where you've seen an impact, whether it's accounting, whether it's sales, whether it's you
Social
know division.
media, social media, again, it's really like the sky is the limit with AI. Like I use for anything solving problems, even this, when you have problems with customers, issues, delays, or anything, I just dump it in, I give it context. This is what's happening, help me figure this out. Figuring out, planning, writing out nice professional emails, even when you're really pissed off and you want to write an angry email, I'll just say how angry I am. And it makes it in a nice, clean, polite way of this is what you should be saying. You're like, that's what I'm going to say then. So that's kind of how I see it, that it really, helps you get your point across in a nice, clean, professional way that helps everybody in that sense.
Definitely, definitely. And David, moving on from that, I want to go a little bit into your packaging as well, because I think that's something that really makes you stand out as well. Dried fruits is something that a lot of people have tried in the past, but it's come in like packaging from the 60s or 70s a lot of times. So I guess you went premium packaging quite early. How did you kind of decide, that that was the place that you're like, this is what we're also going to stand out on,
Yeah.
not just on taste, but also on the way that we present
Yeah.
our product on shelf.
For sure. So, at the end of the day is you can have the best product, but if it's not well packaged or if it's not well presented, people will never be able to have the opportunity to try that product because they were turned off by your packaging or it didn't resonate with them. So for me, again, I understand and being in CPG projects as well that people kind of eat with their eyes first, right? So whether they decide to purchase your product or not, it really depends on the way your packaging looks. If it resonates with them, the information there is good or not to them. And then from there, the next thing is you hope when they bring it back, your product is good enough once they try it, and then you get a repeat customer. But again, if you choose to go cheaper on your packaging, and even though you have a fantastic product, the person can go look at your product not really know if the product is good or not, and kind of say, you know what, I'm just not going to buy it. So for me, I understood that we have to invest a bit more in packaging just to make sure that the packaging speaks to people. Because when we're not there to tell them that it's delicious, they have to walk through the aisles, see these hundreds or thousands of products, and kind of convince themselves, say, hey, this packaging resonates with me, and I'm ready to put my, $8, $10, $20, whatever, to buy this product. So to me, it's one of those you have to attract people. And once you get their interest, then the next part is how does your product taste once they actually do taste it.
And an interesting insight, which I think you mentioned either before we started the podcast, was that, in the ethnic space especially, there's like, packaging is maybe like 10, 15, 20
Yeah.
years behind. But the
Yes,
consumer, like the second gen, Canadian that's over
exactly.
here, they need that higher level of packaging. They need that higher level of food quality
Exactly.
as
So,
well.
so, so that's also one of the things, reason why we started this company also, because again, growing up in North America, there's a lot of amazing, delicious ethnic food. But as you mentioned, the problem is a lot of time these products or packaging are just imported as is. They'll stick a little label on top of it, and it has, different characters that they don't understand, things that they don't really feel sure about. And for me, I saw that's where there was a gap. So I pretty much came in here looking for, I want to find that amazing, delicious product as well from Asia, but I want to put in a packaging that resonates with the North American clientele, with our audience. And so far from what I've seen, it's really done that because again, in terms of the dried fruit category itself, I would think it's a pretty stale category in the sense that no one's really come up with anything new or innovative or anything. I think a lot of people might think, oh, dried fruits, it's what my grandparents like to eat. One of those things, right? So for us, again, the good thing about our product is we're not reinventing the wheel. We're just getting a much, much better product in a better, nicer packaging. And we're going to pretty much all these stores, grocery stores, and our distributors and telling them, listen, you guys already know this product. I don't have to educate you on what the product itself is. And you guys are probably selling these certain brands, which again, they're cool, but they don't resonate with the North American. We're trying, my goal is to become the number one well-known Vietnamese snack products or imported Vietnamese products in North America. So the idea is again, find Vietnamese product, make it nice so that it looks good and it resonates with the North American clientele. And so far, it's been working really, really well in the sense that, as you mentioned, there's a lot of other products that are similar to us, but they don't have the nice packaging. And to me, that makes a big difference of are you just, bulk product put into a box and you're selling it? Or us, I'm trying to create a brand. So really at the end of the day is I'm not just trying to sell a product, I'm trying to create a brand similar to, let's say, the last business that we had, which is just simply poop bags that turn into what I think is right now like the number one most well-known poop bag company in North America. So that's kind of the concept and idea behind it also.
And on that point, I guess you had crazy success with Earth Rated. Maybe what were some of the lessons that I'm sure there were so many, but maybe some of the most impactful lessons that you took from Earth Rated that you've applied onto Nam Fruits that have led to all the success within a year, basically.
So, I mean, in terms of lessons, like you said, there's so many of them. So, I mean, instead of saying lessons, I would say I have a roadmap, right? So I've had a 10-year roadmap of when I've, built my last company with my partners and understanding everything that we did, every downfall that we had, every lesson that we learned. And pretty much I kind of took all of that and applied it to this company and this business, which so far has worked out perfectly. But I mean, even with that roadmap of, knowing how to get from point A to all the way to, say $100 million company, but the idea is still, you still have to climb those mountains, walk that path, swim through the river and everything. But the one good thing is I'm able to avoid pitfalls, or I know, hey, going this route is great because Tradesville, for example, because I know the ROI in that. I know being organized, having certain project management systems to work with a team, with the factory, and all that stuff, how important it is. Because again, I don't know if a lot of people are still working by emails, right? Straight up email is just dealing with stuff. Whereas us, we have a whole project management system that we use in the back. Everything is well organized. Everyone knows their role. So again, really, it's just learning a lot of those things that my previous company that allows me to go into here with the mindset of ready to scale. And that's really what I have with the mindset of anything and everything I'm doing right now. It's a matter of not is it working now, it's how is it going to work when we're in, 1,000 stores or 10,000 stores. So I already have that in mind. So that's why in terms of it's something simple as pricing point, right? Your retail price is what? Well, I already know that I want to go to distributors and I already know how much they cost. I know what shipping costs. I know how much they're going to deduct. So I'm able to know right away, make sure you price it over here and not over here. Because when you go over here and you want to go a little bit higher after, that's a very, very difficult path to go. Versus if you go a bit higher, you can say, hey, I'll give a promo discount of 5-10%. That can still work. So
Yeah,
it really
yeah,
is just learning all of those stuff of what to do, what not to do, where to go, kind of allowed us to grow to 250 stores in a 1 year is really what it is.
100%, 100%. And 250 stores by end of this month. We're currently recording in June 2026. What does the next year or so look like? What are some of the targets that you've kind of set for yourself moving forward?
Yeah, so for myself, really, I'm hoping to get to about 500 stores by the end of the year. And from the 500, the idea is really, again, the next one to be 1,000, 3,000. The goal is pretty much, let's say, have Canada become our anchor account. So we're getting to more and more accounts. I don't want to, you know, go into the US or other countries and all that stuff until I know I'm 100% in Canada, until I know that we're in most, if not all, the big grocery chains, and we know exactly what we're doing. For me, is again, though I have a roadmap, but this is still new. So I'm still making mistakes. And to me, I'm learning from them. And for me, I want to make all the little mistakes and updates and changes that I can while I'm in Canada, while it's still small, versus going to the US, which is 10 times the size and speed and everything of Canada. So for me, really, just focus on Canada, make all your mistakes, learn from them, improve it, perfect your product, your branding, your marketing, your image, your storytelling, all of that stuff first, and then from there, once you have, your anchor accounts or your, to me, anchor country, then go into the US. It's not too late because at least you know everything in Canada is running. Now it's one of those copy and paste with some adjustments to how the US market works.
Definitely, definitely, definitely. And just one last question on that was also that, you guys started up with a distributor, you got those 100 stores. I'm sure a lot of them were mom and pop stores, but now also you're in IGA, Provigo, Metro. I guess how does that conversation change between a Metro and like a mom and pop shop?
Yeah,
I guess. Yeah.
it's really two different worlds. When you're working with the smaller accounts, the mom and pop shop, it's really you speak to them. If they like the product, they're going to place an order. You can get it in the next day, and it's a nice, easy order of a few $100s. Whereas working right now, talking to some of the major accounts, say the Metros, the IGAs, the Sobeys, and all those guys, it's a much, much longer process. And again, luckily enough that I've learned and understood this process from the last business because, again, the difference between talking with someone who can make a decision right away versus someone that has a lot of red tape that has to go up 4, 5, 6 levels in compliance and check this and that. From the time you start a conversation with one of these majors, it can be months, if not a year down the road until they say, cool, we're ready to go. And that's really what I've seen so far, right? Some accounts I've talked to where I thought like, oh, this is finished. We're not going anywhere with this. It's been like 7, 8 months. And at some point, they're like, all right, cool, ready to go place your order now. Like, really? You are? Okay, cool, let's do this. So again, working with the bigger accounts, it takes much longer. There's a lot more paperwork, a lot more compliance. But again, all understandable in the sense that they have a lot more liability they have to be concerned about and pay attention to. So that's why for us, it's one of those, if you want to play with the big boys, you have to follow the rules and work on their timeline. And at the same time, that is not a bad thing because it kind of gives you time to build up your inventory as well, right? So I mean, let's say if tomorrow Metro came to me and say, "Hey, I want to order for my 1,000 stores," I'd be like, "That's cute, but I can't do that." So it's a waste of time for everybody. So while we're having this conversation of getting set up, getting into here, you can talk to the store. How many stores do you expect to start in? What should I expect for inventory? Just so you guys can work together and make sure that you don't run out of inventory for your current or old customers while bringing on new customers. So that's one of the biggest things also as a business you want to make sure is you have enough inventory to fill the demand for your current/old customers whilst trying to grow at the same time. And I think one of the biggest problems some people might have, and me myself maybe even a little bit, in the sense that when big orders come in and accounts come in, you just want to say yes, let's go right away. But again, once you start doing that and you run out of stock, it's bad for the old customers that because now they're like, hey, you ran out of stock, sucks for me. And then for the new guy also, they're like, yo, we only started to work recently and you're already out of stock. Like, this is not how I want to
Yeah.
work with you. So these are all things you kind of have to pay attention to when you're working with these accounts of understanding what each type of account requires. And really, it's just communication, man. Like, communicate with the small store, communicate with the big store. What do you guys need? What do you guys expect? Just so you can better plan and prepare yourself. And there's nothing wrong with that. Like the big stores, they understand that we don't want to destroy your business either. We want to work with you. How do we make it, and what's a good way to do it?
Definitely, definitely, definitely. And yeah, I mean that was a very very valid point. And of course, in the end, we go back to the point of like cash is king in the end, and you need to figure out, especially for someone like yourself, where you have 2 months of in transit in water as well as compared to if I'm manufacturing in the U.S. or Canada as such. So I'm
So
sure
yeah,
there's a
cash
little,
flow is a big problem, huge issue. Again, it's a blessing and a curse when you start working with more accounts. Even the big accounts, right? The big accounts sounds great to get like, $100,000 PO. But with that, it means you have to order X amount of inventory, have it ready, have it prepared. And then not only that, once you sell it to them, they're not paying you after you deliver it. They're paying it to you 30 days if you're lucky, if not, it's 60 days or 90 days. So again, I think for a startup entrepreneur also, you have to be mindful of, in some ways, be careful to not bite off more than you can chew, just to be cautious. But at the same time, the inverse is also true in the sense that I sometimes bite off more than I can chew. As in, if they say, "Can you do this? Can you do this?" I'm like, "Yes." And then after we close the call, I'm like, "Let me go figure out how to do it." So there's a good balance between don't bite off more than you can chew, but at the same time, sometimes you just gotta say yes and bite off more than you can chew and figure out how to chew it after.
yeah, that's amazing. I think that's a great way to end it with that balanced perspective of you're kind of towing the line between both parts. But David, this is great. Learned a lot from this entire conversation. Thank you so much for all the wisdom you've imparted, and I'm sure a lot of founders that listen to this are going to benefit a lot from this. Last thing is, where can people reach out to you, or where can they learn more about Nam Fruits as well?
Yeah, so you can check us out on our website, namfruits.com, fruits.com. Currently, we are in about 250 stores across Canada. If you want to find a store near you, go on our page, go to the where to buy section. You'll be able to find the store closest to you. And really, in Ontario right now, we just got picked up by Healthy Planet. So we are getting into more and more stores slowly. So it's a growing process, but we are very excited for all of that right now.
Amazing, amazing. Yeah, so we'll put all those links to the show notes as well. But again,
Beautiful.
David, it was great chatting, and thanks a lot.
Devesh, thank you for your time as well, man. I appreciate you.
Cheers.